and you should see a little thing come up. And so what I will do, you're going to see the logo, so I'm out of the picture. I'm also going to ask a question that I'm going to mute so it doesn't keep popping back to me.
Sure.
So this is essentially you talking. So let's talk Star Trek. Talk about how you sort of discovered Star Trek and how Star Trek has inspired you.
Well, I mean, I was watching the original Star Trek when it first came out. And again, it's one of those series that you sort of revisit, each decade or so of your life, and you can sort of interpret more and more. I remember specifically as I saw that episode where Kirk is battling the Gorn. I think it was the episode called Arena. And I was 6 at that time. And I remember being traumatized by that episode. I mean, it was the most scariest thing I ever saw, this gigantic lizard-like creature stalking Kirk across the desert. Now, I'm not sure that particular episode necessarily survived the test of time, because now you watch it and, it's hard to take that Gorn all that seriously. But, one thing I think is great about Star Trek is that, it's these stories, not only are they big adventures like being chased by a Gorn across a desert, but there's always things to learn. And as you age, you learn the depths that were buried into the story, the resonance that was the arc of characters that are revealed like peeling an onion. So, to me, I think the lasting legacy and why Star Trek is so time tested is that you can come to the series as just a pure enjoyer of science, a pure purveyor of science fiction and adventure, but as you grow, you can appreciate more and more out of each episode.
What is your favorite Star Trek series, and of that series, what is your favorite episode?
Well, I'm definitely still original Star Trek myself. I mean, that's, again, it's like music, whatever music you like when you're in high school, when you're young, is music pretty much you like the rest of your life. So to me, I can definitely appreciate, and there's a lot of my favorite episodes are in the Next Generation, and actually one of my favorite series is still Voyager 2. If I had to pick a series beyond the original, it would probably be Voyager. But the original, I mean, that's still my favorite. Of course, there's the classics that everybody points to. There's, Ellison's City on the Edge of Time. There's, where Picard becomes assimilated to the Borg, and part 1 and part 2 of The Best of Both Worlds. But there's some esoteric ones I like too. There's I can't remember the episode. It's one where there's these brain-eating parasites spread through the fleet and infect the Federation. Sort of a true body horror episode that I really appreciated. I liked what is that one? It's the one with the what is the name of that creature? I'm just trying to blank. The Horda in Devil in the Dark. Again, me being a veterinarian, just the fact that this, non-human animal-like entity is given, a depth and heart was special to me. What else? It was Mirror, of course, everybody's favorite. And I'm going to just pull one. I had to look this one up before having this conversation. And there's one episode, again, it goes to maybe my veterinary background. It's from the animated series. This episode was written by DC Fontana. Again, it was one of the first sort of female writers in the science fiction universe. It's an episode called Yesteryear. It's where Spock travels back in time using the gate from a city at the edge of time. And during that episode, he's going on this like a walkabout test and called a Coswan. And during the course of that, he has to sacrifice his pet, Aichaya, this sort of bear-like looking creature. And I just remembered it was, to me, if a kid was watching, I think it's animated, it's made for kids, but to me it was almost like the old Yeller episode of the Star Trek universe. I'm sure it traumatized a lot of kids, just like Old Yellow traumatized a lot of kids in my age. So that's sort of an episode that I always appreciate. So again, they go on and on for the episodes I loved.
That is so cool. The Horta episode was the first episode I saw of Star Trek, and I was hooked from that moment on.
A great one to start.
Oh, absolutely. What do you think of the current shows, Discovery and Picard?
I like them both. I like Picard probably a little bit better. I liked, again, some of what I also appreciate about Star Trek, and I think, again, maybe this is one of the reasons it has a lasting legacy, is besides each episode in and of itself stands alone, there's this continuity. There's this arc that develops. If you're an avid fan, there's callbacks to earlier episodes that are important to new episodes. And for Discovery, we see the Mirror universe, reappear as a significant element to the plot of that new series, which I just definitely appreciate. But I think mostly, if I had to pick the two, it's Picard that I like the most. Again, it's calling back to his relationship with Data. It speaks to what it means to be an aged character with a lot of back history in the Federation. It was just one interesting areas that we hadn't seen the Star Trek universe go before, which is why I probably appreciated Voyager too. Is the Voyager series with Janeway? Here we have the crew cast off into a lost in space like Delta Quadrant, and so they were able to sort of put aside a lot of the baggage that was accumulated over the years in the series and do something fresh. And I see with the Picard series, the new Picard series, that it's a similar type of jumping into the future and having a very new look at what that universe looks like. And again, I'm very curious where Discovery is going in its next season, since again, there's another big time jump that, as I've heard, pushes us past the canon of all of the previous series. So I'm really curious what they're going to do with that.
What would you like to see Star Trek do in the future?
Again, I one of the series I did not particularly care for was Star Trek Enterprise. Not that there was anything wrong. I think they were well written, and again, I love Scott Bakula. So Scott Bakula can do no wrong in my book. But I am not a fan of prequels. If I was writing a series, I maybe that's the reason I didn't like initially Discovery as much as Picard, because Discovery also is a bit of a prequel. But now they're leaping forward, they're sort of leapfrogging way into the future. So we're going to get to what I would like to see is continuing to see what that Star Trek universe, what the Federation looks like in the future, is to continue moving forward, not in looking over our shoulder and looking at the past.
I like that answer, actually. And you're right, Scott Bakula can do no wrong.
No doubt.
My last question is for you is, do you have a Star Trek moment?
A Star Trek moment. It still goes back again. It's that my first exposure to, and again, maybe it was just a shock of it, was that first episode with the Gorn in Arena. Again, I didn't follow necessarily the nuances as a 6-year-old, what was going on, but it struck, it's similar like with you with the Horta, it struck me so deeply that it just became sort of etched in my soul. I just had to keep following that crew, see what other mischief they get into, what else was going to keep me hiding behind the couch, watching or being, shocked. And then, so again, it probably goes back to my first encounter with Kirk battling the Gorn.
Thank you for doing this. Just for curiosity, do you know the Space, the Final Frontier, that whole thing?
Do I know the what?
Space, the Final Frontier.
Oh, the opening lines.
Yeah. Would you like to do that for me?
Oh, I do not have that memorized, no.
Okay. All right. I was wondering, can you give me a Live Long and Prosper?
Okay. Got to do that with my fingers. Live long and prosper. There you go.
That was perfect. Thank you. We're editing people together.
Trying to get that to work smoothly.
And
My
I
fingers
was gonna
don't.
say I'm tough with that too. So,
Yeah.
oh, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.